You're back. Well, great. Welcome to the Unfoldlearning Podcast. I was actually just putting my routines in place for the next week. Now I know routines can sound boring or even restrictive. But stay with me because we are about to break some stereotypes and the conventional constructs to uncover the why, the what, and the how of creating meaningful rituals that will fuel your personal growth. By the end of this episode, I'll leave you with actionable steps that you can start implementing today to transform your daily life. Let's get started and Happy New Year to you all. I guess I can still say the same because it's January month. And welcome back to the Unfoldlearning Podcast. This is your host, Costa, an engineer turned into a school teacher, into an HR professional, and now pursuing this content creation journey with you all. For those who are new to this space, well, let me tell you, this is a space where we deep dive into self-discovery and personal growth by breaking the conventional aspects and the stereotypes. If this space resonates with you or the purpose kind of clicks with you, then do check out my previous episode, and only if you like them, do like them, and then eventually subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon, the Unfold Learning Podcast with Kostov. First, let's talk about the why for the routines and the rituals that I've been talking about. Why do routines and rituals matter for a growth-oriented life? Here's a fact to kick things off. According to a 2021 study in Nature Communications, habits make up about 40% of our daily behavior. That means almost half of what we do is on autopilot. So the question isn't whether you have habits, but it is whether those habits are helping you or hurting you for your growth. No matter what stage of life you are at or the responsibilities that you have, the routines you design will determine how effectively you navigate challenges, use your energy, and achieve your growth. Whether you're managing deadlines in college, caring for your loved ones, excelling the corporate world or wanting to excel, or innovating in a startup, intentional habits empower you to live consciously and align your daily actions with your long term goals and aspirations. Think of routines as a framework that supports your day. They are not about micromanaging your time, but they are essentially about reducing decision fatigue and making space for what really matters to you. For instance, Barack Obama and Steve Jobs were both known for minimizing their daily decisions. Obama wore only gray or blue suits, and Jobs stuck to his iconic black turtleneck. Why? To save their mental energy for the big stuff. Now, here's where the fallacy comes in. Many people think routines make life monotonous, but the truth is, the right routines actually free you. They liberate you in many ways. They give you a structure so you can be creative, intentional, and focused in the areas of your life. Let's move on to what those routines and rituals should look like. First, let me make it very clear. It's not about one size fitting all. Growth oriented routine isn't about following someone's 5 a.m. ritual. In fact, it is about aligning with your habits, your values, and your energy levels. Let's break it down into three key areas. Number one, mind. Start your day by setting the tone mentally. This could be through mindfulness, journaling, or simply by practicing gratitude. Did you know that the research from the Harvard shows that people who write down three things they are grateful for at the start of their day, every single day, they have a deeper and a higher level of happiness in just 3 weeks. That's how powerful it is. So the first part is mind, and be intentional about how do you really orient yourself right at the beginning of the day. Number two, the body. Your body's energy fuels everything that you do through the day. Make sure that you engage in some sort of a physical activity. It could be hitting the gym, it could be cycling, just goddamn walking. anything that works for you. I'd like to share my experience. So since November 26, 2024, I have been ensuring that I step out, I go to the gym and I work out. And since then, and this time what was very different was that my goal was not to lose weight, but my goal is to ensure that out of the 365 days in this year, I'll be hitting the gym or I'll be engaging myself in physical activities at least 300 days out of those 365. And that shifts your perspective in a big way. The third one, the final one, the purpose. Finally, ground your day in the purpose. Reflect on your goal and intentions. Ask yourself, what's that one thing that you can do today to move closer to your long term goal? That focus will keep you aligned and motivated. Right? It could be as simple as saying to yourself that my orientation or my purpose is to find joy in everything that I do. Remind yourself with that. If your purpose is that, if your purpose is about paying it forward or about ensuring that you're contributing, keep orienting yourself every single day with that purpose. What it will do, it will ensure that every action that you indulge with, it is aligned back to the purpose that you intend for. Now let's get into the most interesting aspect, which is the how. How do you design your routines or rituals that will work for you? Let me give you some steps, and if you're watching this at this point in time, I would request you to ensure that you have some form of a note-taking tool. It could be digital, it could be pen and paper, but just jot these down because trust me, these are going to help you. And by the way, in case you would want any kind of tools, templates or resources, which by the way, I'm going to share by the end of this video. If you missed that and if you want to actually use those templates or those examples, you should actually go to the link in the description and find my newsletter link. It's a weekly newsletter. Don't miss to check it out and subscribe that newsletter as well. Okay, let's come back to the topic. So I'm going to tell you, how do you really go about creating or designing your routines and rituals? So let me start by outlining some steps. Step 1. This could sound very trivial, but trust me, it's the most important. Start small. Here's what most people go wrong with. They try to overhaul their entire day overnight. Don't do that. Instead, focus on one habit at a time. For example, if you want to build a habit of a morning routine, start with just drinking a glass of water as soon as you get up in the morning. Master that and then build on with something else. Something that I did was just stepping outside the house. My goal was not that I'll go to the gym and do this exercise and that exercise, but it was primarily just open the door and get out of that house. And that makes a ton of a difference. And that step 2, make it personal. Your routines should reflect you. If you are a night owl, don't force yourself into a 5 a.m. ritual. Work with your natural rhythms. And if gratitude journaling feels cheesy, no problem. Try voice recording yourself. The personal element was, I owe myself excellence. I owe myself being meticulous. And I was like, no matter what, I need to prioritize process and engage with the process. And that was the personal element of mine. And step number 3, anchor your habits. Attach new habits to reflect you. I'll give you a very interesting example. Well, I feel a bit ashamed of sharing this, but nevertheless, I'll still go ahead and do it. I was never the one who would brush his teeth before going to the bed. Right now, because I was working out, then the whole day, I mean, the energy goes out, right? You drain out very early. So you finish having your dinner early, you go to bed early. Now, that going to the bed early was one of the habit formation that was happening, and I just had to plug it with brushing my teeth every single night. And that's what you do by anchoring your habits and building upon those. Well, it is actually true. If you indulge yourself with constructive, intentional, process oriented habits, attract more new habits. And that's what it means to anchor your habits. 4, track your progress. Well, what gets measured gets done. So track your progress. Use a habit tracker, use a journal, measure your consistency, measure the inputs. Like, for example, of course, if you are training yourself at the gym, you would look into the parameters in terms of your measurements, your weight, etc., etc. But I think prior to that, what you need to measure is what has been those number of inputs that you have committed to. Is it 5 days a week? And is it done? Is it 3 days a week? Whatever suits yourself, whatever would align with you, make sure you're tracking the input, and of course, with that, outcome will eventually be achieved. And the reason why it is important is because when you see those trackers, or when you see those aspects on your tracker move, you experience that momentum and you would like to continue that momentum innately, more intrinsically. And the last one, step number 5, again the most important, and this is where it becomes like a make or a break situation for many: be flexible. Life happens and routines will sometimes get disrupted. You may not be able to follow them, and that's okay. Don't be harsh on yourself. The key is to go back on track, get back on the wagon, and not have a sense of guilt. Because if you get that guilt, trust me, you will lose out on that momentum. Remember, it's about the progress and not about perfection. And let me give you a small tip. Let's say you have decided that you're going to do something for 5 days a week. So you do one day, but you miss the next day. Just make sure it's not missed twice. Right? Just go with that ratio. So if you miss one day, that's okay, but try to cover it up in the next day. In a simple way, don't miss it twice in a row. That's it. And to help you understand this better, in my newsletter, you will find a table which I am showing here somewhere on the screen, where I have actually broken down the aspects in terms of what could be a potential breakdown for any particular habit to get impacted. I've described that kind of a breakdown. Then the deeper purpose associated with that. I've also added two important columns: what you need to be mindful of, and if you think that your habit is breaking down, how can you have a coping strategy? I get this whole chart in my newsletter, so do find that in the description below. Okay, so let's summarize. Started by looking into why do we need to think about routines and rituals. By the way, this time is absolutely perfect. This is just the start of the year, and this is the time, no matter who you are, what responsibilities you will have, routines and rituals will take you a long, long way. Then we dovetailed into what essentially routines and rituals mean to us or could mean to us, and then we looked into the how part of it, where there are 5 steps. Step 1, start small. Step 2, make it personal. Step 3, anchor your habits. Step 4, track your progress. Step 5, be flexible. Great. Before we wrap up, let me address a couple of stereotypes. Number 1, you need to wake up. You need to start early. Be at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. to be successful. False. What matters is not the time you wake up, but how you spend your waking hours. Number 2, the stereotype: routines kill creativity. False. Well, routines actually create the mental space needed to be creative, to thrive, by eliminating unnecessary decision making process. At a very surface level, it could appear boring, but trust me, it opens up a lot of possibilities. Well, now it's time to take actions, and here's a challenge for you all. Choose one area of your life: mind, body, purpose, and create a simple habit around it. Start today. For example, commit to writing down one thing you're grateful for every single morning. Or take a 5-minute walk after lunch, or maybe when you wake up or before you go to sleep. Small steps will lead to big transformations. And don't keep this journey to yourself. Share your progress with the people that matter to you. And by the way, do let me know what you intentionalize or prioritize and how's your progress been in the comment section below. I assure you, I'm going to read those, I'm going to respond to those, and probably share some insights as well, and maybe trigger some deeper conversations. You can also tag me at Instagram at Unfoldlearning. And a reminder again, do subscribe to the newsletter. And as they always do, I would do the same. Thank you for being there. Please, please, please do subscribe to the channel Unfoldlearning Podcast. This is your host, Costa. When you subscribe, when you like, when you share, it is extremely, extremely encouraging, exciting, and it kind of compels me, pushes me to continue to deliver as rich content as possible, as practical content as possible, as much as content as possible that will help you to grow, to develop a growth mindset and break the stereotypes that we are surrounded with. Till the next time, take care of yourself and people around you. I will see you soon. Thank you again for being there.